When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With twinspires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with twinspires. And now you can race to victory with twinspires tournaments.
Welcome back to the twinspires Racing Roundtable. I'm Ashley Anderson here with Vance Hansen, and James Scoldia is back from vacation. We're going to be looking ahead today as opposed to looking back on racing from the weekend. Well, mostly looking ahead. We're going to talk the Grade 3 Lecomte, a Road to the Kentucky Derby prep race, 2 Oaks prep races as well, the Busanda and the Silverbulletday, and then we'll do our usual what caught our eye from the weekend. James, I'll start with you since you are back from vacation, and it was your birthday last week, right?
It was. Yes.
Well,
Thank
happy
you.
belated birthday.
Thank you, Ashley. It's good to be back. Excited for this big weekend at Fairgrounds, highlighted by the Lecomte Stakes. And I'm going to take a shot with number 3, Admiral Dennis. He's listed at 8-1 on the morning line. This is a well-built son of Constitution. Got lots of stamina on both sides, and he's a big colt. Looks like he's built for longer distances. And he's been favored in all of his 3 career starts, Admiral Dennis has. He was 4-5 in the Lecomte last time, but he lost all chance that day at the start. I mean, he broke like East Avenue did in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, completely cost him the race. We'll take a look back here at him winning second time out. Admiral Dennis, like I said, he debuted at 6.5 furlongs. That short sprint distance was too sharp for him. Stretched him out to a mile. We just watched that stretch run from him, a convincing maiden win going a mile. He went 2 turns last time, went 2 turns first time in the Gunrunner Stakes last time. And that bad break just totally cost him any chance. It was a 5-horse field with with pace concerns going into the Gun Runner. The Lecomte, on the other hand, is a 14-horse field, and there's plenty of speed signed on. So I look for Admiral Dennis to get a good stock and pounce trip from the inside. I'll just mention real quick in that Gun Runner, when he didn't break Admiral Dennis, that allowed Bill to get out there and run 3 consecutive quarter miles and slower than 24.5 seconds. That's a completely false pace race. Doesn't mean Bill can't back it up moving forward, but I'm not putting a lot of stock in it. And with that outside post and a short price on the Lecomte, I'm against Bill in the race. And I'm going to take a shot with Admiral Dennis bouncing back strong. Second try versus winners, second time at a route in Saturday's Lecomte Stakes.
You're getting a great price on Admiral Dennis. I was looking at this before the morning line came out, and I will talk about who I'm going with, who I'm not getting as good of a price on. But before we move to Vance, I do want to mention we have Pool 3 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager this weekend, and a couple of individual choices are in this race. So definitely watch this race if you're thinking about entering Pool 3 at twinspires. It'll be available all weekend long through Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Vance, I will now turn it over to you to talk about your pick in the Lecomte.
Yeah, a vast majority of the field has been exposed in some shape or form that kind of bothers me handicapping-wise. One of the few that hasn't and who figures to offer somewhat generous odds is Maximum Promise. The connections, trainer Kenny McPeak and jockey Brian Hernandez, of course, won last year's Derby with Mystic Dan. And here's Maximum Promise winning for fun second time out at Ellis Park in early August. He was over a mile. He was adding blinkers for this race, and as you can see, he had very little trouble dispensing with this field. The runner-up came back and broke his maiden next out, although he's been hasn't done very well since. But this was a very encouraging race for Maximum Promise. He also earned a competitive 87 Brisnet speed rating from that. But there are obviously some caveats going into the Lecomte. Obviously, the layoff, more than 5 months, is a huge concern for me. And the fact he'll be facing a field more than twice as large as the one that he faced at Ellis Park last time. However, I can envision him getting a decent pocket trip a la Mystic Dan. And if he's good enough, being in the mix at a respectable price in this race, he certainly looks to me like a horse with a lot of upside left.
Certainly great connections there with Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez. I
And
ended up
that was a good number. I look at Maximum Promise, that 87 you referenced, even this calling card. He got a huge number breaking his maiden 2 starts back. That's the thing with Admiral Dennis. I mean, he ran a 91 breaking his maiden 2 back. So I do like to see a fast performance. Maximum Promise has that going for him. Vance is going to get, I think, every bit of 10-1 because that horse hasn't run since Ellis. I would look for him to be a little overlooked in this bulky field. Bold pick by Mr. Hansen.
I ended up settling on number 11, Disco Time, not getting the best price ever at 9-2, but this is a Brad Cox runner with Florent Giroux aboard. And both of these, the trainer and the jockey, are doing very well at fairgrounds. Brad Cox, a 30% winner. Same with Florent Giroux this meet, 30%. And Disco Time is unbeaten from 2 starts. Last out, won at a 1-turn mile at Churchill Downs by 3.5 lengths with a 92 Brisnet speed figure, a 117 class rating. I think we all clearly are not on the morning line favorite Built, who got away with those very slow early fractions, but did have a triple-digit late pace rating, a 106 when winning the Gun Runner. But I'm going to go with a runner that did not appear in the Gun Runner Stakes and ultimately settled on the 9-2 choice in this race.
Yeah, I thought he had got good trips in both those races, and to me, I mean, I went back and watched his races as well yesterday. You can make the case he's a little bit green in both of his maiden win and his entry level allowance race win. Being a son of not this time and running as well as he did at a mile, the mile at 16th distance looks perfect for him, and he's a candidate to keep moving forward. Got the right trainer in Brad Cox.
I do want to throw out real quick number 7 Calling Card, which we have already sort of talked about. As a late runner with all this speed signed on, I do feel like this could be one that closes late for Mike Maker, and Frankie Dettori is aboard. So seeing him pick up the mount, I feel like that has me a little intrigued, and very sharp workouts at fairgrounds as well. So I'll probably play Calling Card underneath in an exacta or in tries as well. All right, let's move over to any other notes?
No, I was going to say he will get the pace in there, though.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable. A lot of speed entered in that Lecomte.
Let's start with the Silver Bullet Day between the 2 Oaks prep races. And Vance, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the Silver Bullet Day? Who do you like in this race?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Juddmonte had a good afternoon in both races, and Chasson is their representative here. She might get a little bit overbet in the Silver Bullet Day, given her connections. She's trained by Brad Cox, and despite the fact that she won at first asking at Churchill in a not especially fast time, and we'll see the stretch run of Chasson's come from behind victory here. She's in the pink cap coming up with Florent Giroux aboard. However, all that being said, Chasson does come from an outstanding family, as you would suspect from a Juddmonte homebred. She herself is a half-sister to Idiomatic, who is the likely favorite to win her second Eclipse Award this coming week as champion older mare. There's no guarantee she'll live up to this family legacy, which also includes another champion older mare, Close Hatches, and her son Tacitus, but it would be kind of a surprise if Chasson didn't make some name for herself, and I think she fits pretty well here in the Silver Bullet Day.
James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't fault Vance. Very promising. She was a little chilly on the tote board on that day. That was that Stars of Tomorrow 2 card, and you had some really good maiden races, at least on paper. They look like good maiden races, and she really caught my eye. I mean, she broke poorly from the gate, and she won with I thought a real nice turn of foot in the stretch. So definitely has something going out of lockdown, like Vance said, just regally bred daughter of Into Mischief. My pick in the Silver Bullet Day Stakes is number 2 Golden Gamble. I thought that this filly is sort of like my pick in the Lecomte with Admiral Dennis. I think she's a long striding 3-year-old filly, Golden Gamble, who will get better, who will continue to run well at longer distances moving forward. Part of her problem, after she broke her maiden impressively the second time out at a mile and 16th at Churchill, she went into the stake race, the Untappable Stakes, and believe me, the pace was really slow in the Gun Runner earlier on this program, and it was just flat out glacial in here. They ran like 6 furlongs. You can see it up there, 113.95. That pace and the race flow completely worked against Golden Gamble. Plus, she's still just like figuring things out in a sense for Kenny McPeak. No guarantee she'll get a real solid setup, but I'm looking for more pace than there was signed on or that took place in her last start. And I look for her to continue to advance off of that runner-up finish in an untappable Golden Gamble.
I'm right there with you, James. This is my top pick as well. And I do want to note what's interesting in this field. We've got 3 from Kenny McPeak in here, and she's as sweet as one of the 3 who probably will get the early lead. We also have 2 from Brad Cox and 2 from Whit Beckman. And then Bless the Broken is cross-entered in the Busanda. I actually like Bless the Broken better in the Silver Bullet Day and feel like that could be a long shot play for Will Walden if that horse does go for the early lead. Has been working out very well at Fairgrounds as well, but ultimately, I'm going to go with Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez here with Golden Gamble for a lot of the reasons that you said as well, James. Let's move over to the Busanda now and talk about our top picks. So I'll go back to Vance. Who do you like in the Busanda?
Well, I mentioned Judmont earlier, and their representative here is another second-time starter, Ramify, trained by Chad Brown, rather. She rallied from more than a dozen lengths off the pace in her debut.
At the rail, hey,
Aqueduct in
everybody.
early December,
My-
going a mile, and you'll see her on the far outside here, making her run late, and she will get up to win by half a length. Pretty impressive performance. The pace wasn't overly hot, but and to make up 13 lengths or so was a pretty good performance on her part. She's by Munnings, and her second dam was a 7-time Grade 1 winner named Sightseek. And against this field in the Busanda, I don't see her having any serious issues getting a mile and an eighth. No serious issues either with the distance or necessarily the competition. I think she'll be pretty competitive here.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good effort by not only did she win that race, but the filly she beat by Sharona ran a good second to her at odds on, and it was a huge gap back to third. My pick in the Busanda Stakes is going to be number 6, Ruth. Excuse me. Ruth is a filly that debuted, Uncle Mo filly. She was bet down to odds on at Gulfstream Park in mid-December. Got up to win in deep stretch, going a mile and a 16th going a one-turn mile that day. Going from Gulfstream Park, where you have a real fancy 2-year-old filly like this by Uncle Mo, to the Busanda Stakes at Aqueduct in January seems like an odd placement. But the whole reason I think that Todd Pletcher is running Ruth in this race is just because it's a mile and an eighth. And she's not going to get any other mile and an eighth stakes in January or in the coming immediate future. So this race fits because of the distance. Ruth is a filly that needs as much ground as she can get. It took her a long time to get in stride. I think that run line's like a little bit deceiving on Ruth. But I do like the way the light bulb went on late. I look for her to keep progressing off of that effort. I think she has some quality to her potentially. So I'm going to stick with Ruth for Todd Pletcher off a real nice maiden win at Gulfstream Park.
James, I am once again in agreement with you for these Kentucky Oaks prep races. I also am on Ruth, but I was looking at Ramify. It's the lightly raced fillies that caught my attention in this race, and I ultimately settled on Ruth with the higher Brisnet speed figure. I like the pedigree by Uncle Mo out of a Bernardini mare, and Jose Gomez is aboard, picking up the mount. Irad Ortiz Jr. had the mount for her debut, but Jose Gomez doing well at Aqueduct. Right now, Todd Pletcher, of course, the high percentage trainer at Aqueduct, and feel like we're going to see a big performance. Both Ruth and Ramify listed as late runners on Brisnet PPs, but of course, we only have one start to go off of. And Ruth also beat a next out winner in that maiden win, so I ended up rating her just slightly higher. I do think it's interesting. We are shying away from Brad Cox, who has the filly on the rail, and of course he has a whole lot of really good fillies this year that could show up in the Kentucky Oaks, but no one like Sharp Smile here?
Yeah, listen, I wasn't that keen on that win and the slop. I think that this fillies he's got 2 fillies on a Silver Bullet Day, and neither one of us picked them. But I do think that those fillies have a little bit of a better chance than Sharp Smile does in the Busanda. But you're right. I mean, Brett Cox had about 5 juvenile filly stakes winners last year, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see his success continue in these 3-year-old filly stakes in 2025.
And speaking of that, we haven't even mentioned that rain is in the forecast at Aqueduct and at Fairgrounds this weekend. A lot of rain at Fairgrounds in particular. So mud pedigrees could be important to look at when you're handicapping. And Sharp Smile, of course, as you already mentioned, James, won on a sloppy track. But I'm looking at, the mud pedigree of Ruth, not so bad there, and Ramify, decent
Uncle
mud
Mo's
pedigree as well. So
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah. So if you're handicapping this weekend and you don't like our picks, maybe still consider mud pedigree when you're looking at who to pick in these races. Let's now recap from the weekend and look at some of the performances that stood out to us. So, James, what caught your eye this weekend?
I'm going to mention Saturday's fourth race at Gulfstream Park. It was a 6 furlong maiden special weight for 3-year-olds, and River Thames, a promising New York bred son of McLean's Music, basically tracked the pace up close, took over an upper stretch from the odds-on favorite Vanderbilt, and won going away by about 5 lengths. I thought this was a very stylish performance from a very intriguing, promising colt. Now, the one thing about him is that McLean's Music, you would never think about Triple Crown distances with a son of his unless he had all this stamina on the dam side. And River Thames, he's from the immediate female family of Grade 1 winning sprinters, Dad's Caps and Paula's Silver Lining. So there's all kinds of speed on both sides of his pedigree. I'm not looking at him as a Triple Crown prospect, but he could still be a really nice performer for Todd Pletcher moving forward off this race. As far as the runner-up Vanderbilt, he's a in a mischief colt, costs like $1.1 million as a yearling out of a Tappet mare. And he was about a foot taller and way longer striding than the winner. And I just think he's a horse that 6 furlongs was too sharp for him. He did show good speed to take the lead on the back stretch and do the turn. But I liked how Vanderbilt held for second. I'm going to look for him to improve significantly for Brad Cox at a longer distance next time. So I came away impressed by both the winner, River Thames, and I came away thinking we'll see better things in the future from the runner-up Vanderbilt in Saturday's fourth race at Gulfstream.
Vance, who caught your eye?
Well, I'll touch on Todd Pletcher's other first-time starting winner at Gulfstream on Saturday, Grande. He was a bit cold on the board, 9-1 he started at, and he was up against an odds-on favorite named Camp Hale, but Grande surged past Camp Hale inside the final furlong, and he won going away by 2.5 lengths over a mile. He's by Curlin, and he's out of a mare that was a Grade 3 winner on turf and was placed in multiple graded stakes on turf as a 3-year-old too. And she's already produced a Grade 3 winner in Canada on synthetics. So Grande looks like a horse who's going to continue to get better. And from a pedigree perspective, he might be able to handle multiple surfaces if need be. Perhaps not a horse for the Kentucky Derby necessarily, given the somewhat belated start to his career. But of course, his sire, Curlin, debuted even later in early February at Gulfstream, won at first asking at 7 furlongs, ran third in the Derby, and then, of course, won the Preakness and was Horse of the Year. So I don't expect lofty successes like that from Grande, but he does look like a potential nice horse.
So you're not predicting Horse of the Year honors for Grande? Is that what? No, I'm just kidding.
If you want to give me 200-1 or something, I might consider it. But
no, and listen, I agree with what Vance said. I thought that horse looked really nice. I think that runner-up for Ian Wilkes is going to come back and graduate. I thought Camp Hale ran really well for second. That looks like I thought both. I think that was race 7. I think both maiden special weight races at Gulfstream last Saturday could be very productive events. And it'll be interesting to see because Grande is definitely, as opposed to the other winner, River Thames, he's bred more for longer distances.
I'll keep it sort of on the theme of Todd Pletcher, mentioning a horse that was formerly in his barn, Manama Gold, who was the heavy favorite this weekend at Fairgrounds. And it was not a good day for odds-on favorites at Fairgrounds in the stakes on Saturday. We had Manama Gold still searching for her first win in the U.S., now in the barn of Cherie DeVoe. She was sprinting 6 furlongs for the second straight start and was ultimately beaten by Classy Judy G, who was moving up in class and has now won her 3rd straight start from 4 lifetime starts. Her lone loss came on the turf, a win for Patricia West. And then over in the Gary Palmisano Memorial Stakes, we had an upset, a pretty surprising upset, with Go Sugar finishing ahead second to Not on Herb, who now has 4 stakes wins for his career. Now, this race was supposed to be a rematch from the Louisiana Champions Day Sprint. Go Sugar and Jackhammer finished 1-2 in that race. Jackhammer scratched. I thought surely this would open it up for Go Sugar to have an easy win after he already dominated in the Louisiana Champions Day Sprint. But instead, Not on Herb got up right in time to win by a head. So 2 big upsets, and maybe we'll see some more upsets, especially with some potentially off-track conditions this weekend at Fairgrounds in our, I think it's a 6 stakes on the card this weekend, I believe, on Saturday.
They got that name past the Jockey Club, perhaps. I don't know what that. I don't know what the deal
James,
is
I was
with
wondering that
name.
myself.
But hey, good picking against Manana Gold. That was your favorite against. Anything, you're picking against odds-on favorites and defeating them. You got a chance to make some money.
Thank you very much. All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the Racing Roundtable. Again, we have Pool 3 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager opening on Friday at noon, and it closes at 6 p.m. on Sunday. Barnes is your 10-1 individual betting choice. All other 3-year-olds are the 5-2 choice at the moment. So definitely watch the races this weekend and make your wagers by Sunday. And we will see you next weekend to recap all of the big stakes from this weekend.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With twinspires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with twinspires. And now you can race to victory with twinspires tournaments.